Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Today we have a mock draft.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What is going on, Fantasy Champions? My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up?
We have a fun episode today. Mock draft. I think we're going to do like 5 mock drafts from here until the start of the NFL season.
Really? I'm excited.
Yeah. So
doing mock drafts.
This is it. Like, it's August 11th.
It is August. Wow.
People have probably already started some of their mock drafts. If they haven't, you probably should do that soon if you're listening to this podcast. But some people have probably already drafted their leagues at this point. Usually the big week is the third week of August, is that next week? Or is that this week? I think that's next week. That's when we draft. Week. So as you get prepared for your draft, we are going to give you many mock drafts to help you win your league and help you with strategies and all kinds of nonsense. So before we jump into that, be sure to check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, at the FF Champs on Twitter, at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. You can like us at facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review. Help us out and leave a review. 5 stars, preferably.
That would be fantastic.
If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below who you think won this mock draft, my friends. And you know the only answer is me.
It might be. We'll see.
We do have the draft guide. It's still available. It's getting updated very soon with brand new information reacting to all of COVID-19 in opt-outs. The draft guide is $25. You can buy it now. Go to thefantasychampions.com. Top of the page, you click on the draft guide, purchase now, and then buy the draft guide. Simple as that. It has full rankings, breakouts, busts, player draft values, and so much more. And if you order now, you will be entered in for a chance to be in our listener league. Time is running out for that. So please get yourself a chance to verse us in
Yeah, I mean, if you think you can beat us, of course.
Of course. We're going to start with some quick news before we jump into the show. We usually do that, or we try to do that at the end, but for this episode, we'll just do a quick news segment.
Okay.
Are you ready for that?
Sure.
So we'll go over some opt-outs. I was surprised that the opt-out situation wasn't horrible. Very happy.
Yeah.
I explained on the last show that I think it was because if star players started opting out, they would only get like $150,000 stipends, which, you know, is pretty much nothing for a guy like Odell Beckham or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But these following players did opt out of the NFL season. These offensive players, I'm not going through the players on the defensive side of the football that opted out, or the offensive linemen. Allen Hurns from the Dolphins opted out. Travis Benjamin from the 49ers opted out. The Dolphins had Albert Wilson opt out as well at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, the depth is kind of weak there.
The Patriots had several players, Marquis Lee, including Marquis Lee. They had Matt Lacoste, their starting tight end, go out. So the 2 tight ends that they have as rookies are probably going to get a lot more opportunity. And then I believe that was the only major. We already talked about Damian Williams going out and Devin Funchess going out. So those are really the only major like opt-outs at this point. Miami, I'm so mad because I traded Preston Williams in one of our dynasty leagues. I was like, this guy's trash. And then I traded him for, I think it was Paris Campbell, and now he's like the second wide receiver on the team, and you know, it is what it is, I guess. But as far as the 49ers, I don't think Travis Benjamin was even going to make the team.
No, probably not.
And then as far as the Dolphins are concerned, I mean, you're going to have, if anybody was really concerned about Devonte Parker and drafting him this year, Does this make you feel a little more comfortable drafting him in terms of, because I haven't been drafting him at all.
I don't know why people were. I'm still comfortable drafting Devontae Parker. So
yeah.
If this is the reason why, though, I don't think you really wanted him in the first place.
Well, no, I honestly haven't tried to draft him in any of my drafts, and he's not. I think he's like 7th round pick right now, 6th round pick. So he's not even like, he might actually be higher than that. I don't remember, but
he's 7th in sleeper, I think.
Yeah, so it's like he's not a bad value, but now that there's no one else there to catch footballs, you know who else this helps?
Gaiseki, baby.
Only one man's. The guy's gonna literally run out of the slot the whole season.
Yeah.
Any haters for Mike Gesicki, which I don't think I've ever seen haters for Mike Gesicki. But anyway, Marquis Brown said he gained 23 pounds this offseason, not
still
of
ridiculous
fat,
amount.
of muscle. And he's up to 180 after playing 157 as a rookie. So I was thinking about Marquis Brown today multiple times, and I'm like, dude, I don't even care that he added, like, 157 small. I wonder if the 180 is going to slow him down.
It might. I don't think so, though. But we'll see.
Yeah. But I was thinking about him today, and I'm like, do I really want to, like, I've been bouncing back and forth on whether or not I want to draft Marquis Brown or not.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like he has the chance of being like a Tyreek Hill kind of like breakout player.
Sure.
And I think that would happen this year. But the problem is every time I look at the amount of times the freaking Ravens throw the football,
it makes you feel like never mind.
Did you know Mark Andrews he led the team in target share? And some people might be like, oh, he must have had 120 targets. No, he had 98 targets. Second on the team was Marquis Brown with 70. So
yeah.
They're not going to throw the football, and I feel like it would be extremely hard for Marquis Brown to hit 100 targets. So at this point, I'm kind of like, if you want to draft him in the 6th or 7th round, hoping that he does have a little bit of like a breakout year like Tyreek Hill, then that's fine. I think that's his ceiling, honestly. Like, he can do that, but you should know that you're getting into a very low floor player. Like, it's either 120 fantasy points or 220 fantasy points for this kid. So there's no in between. There's no, he gets like 170.
Right. Yeah.
He's either at the bottom of hundreds or he's up, you know, in the low 200s.
I like Hollywood Brown. It's just his ADP, like, I think it's a tad high for me from what I've seen in mock drafts. But if he's there in like the 9th round, I'm definitely taking him.
Yeah. Bruce Arians said Ronald Jones is the main guy after they signed LaShawn McCoy, which is good news for our takes, but I still don't know if I even like Tampa's backfield at this point.
Yeah,
I was trying to project them today.
Just having McCoy there is like.
I feel like Peyton Barber's probably. I mean, I feel like LaShawn McCoy is probably just going to take the Peyton Barber role.
Sure, and then what about Did Keyshawn Vaughn?
I don't think Keyshawn Vaughn is going to even get any opportunity this year.
Remember, like 2 months ago, people were saying he's going to get like 200 carries, and
I highly something bad would have to happen. Also, the Daragumba people need to take a seat.
I don't know why those people exist, but
it's because Brady. They think he's going to be James White. Jets coach Adam Gase said Le'Veon Bell is extremely motivated and phenomenal shape, which is surprising coming from a coach who doesn't like running backs whatsoever. Offensive coordinator from the Raiders, Greg, said, wow, his name is really Greg Olsen?
It is.
Wow, dude. Didn't they? No, they don't have Greg Olsen. I got so confused. I was like, what the crap is that? He said that first-round wide receiver Henry Ruggs is going to start in the slot. That was kind of surprising to me, considering that they were talking about not even, or maybe that was the Eagles. I can't remember, but they were talking about not playing him in the slot to start, and that he was just going to play out wide and then learn the slot. And now they're saying that he's just going to start in the slot this year.
It's interesting.
Which kills Hunter Renfrow and any other. I really don't really like anyone in the wide receiver core for Oakland this year.
Not for this year.
Besides Ruggs, but I don't even think Ruggs is going to get that much opportunity. So
right.
In a horrible, unfortunate, it was that day. I don't remember what was that Friday. Such a horrible day.
I think it was Friday.
One of the big people in the fantasy football community was taken down. Fired from Fantasy Pros because of insensitive materials he sent to women. We don't condone that behavior.
No.
So pretty horrible day to start. And then Darius Geis, we find out that he reported himself for choking out his girlfriend. Apparently, she went unconscious. And the Washington football team released Darius Geis subsequently. So disappointing.
It's so disappointing. Yeah, I don't get it, man.
I don't think he'll play in the NFL again, just based on the information that's coming out.
I don't think he should.
He'll probably be in jail, to be honest with you.
That's like worse than Ray Rice,
yeah,
from what it sounds like. Or just.
But you know what? Because there's no video, it won't be held to the same.
That's true, which is kind of stupid.
Like he'll probably get less game suspension than Kareem Hunt.
Sure. Oh gosh.
Isn't that stupid? Just because there's no video involved.
Right.
So he's done. I would not invest any draft. But right now, people are taking shots in the dark in like the 15th round. If
you're in a PPR league, you know, and you want to take a shot at like Antonio Gibson, I think that's fine. Although, I don't think he's going to start.
I don't think he's gonna. Antonio Gibson's not gonna play running back. He's gonna play the slot for Washington. He's gonna get some opportunities on the ground. They've already talked about. There was a report. Well, we'll jump right into that report now. The running back coach Randy Jordan believes it'll take time for Antonio Gibson to learn pass protections and diagnose blitzes, which in the NFL, running backs liver. This is why Rojo has never been able to hold down the starting job, because he's an absolutely horrid pass blocking running back.
Yep.
And so I feel like if Antonio Gibson struggles with that same thing, it's going to be hard for him to be a starting running back in the NFL.
Sure.
I think he'd be a fantastic slot receiver. I really do.
Well, that's what I like about him in like PPR leagues, because I don't think he's going to be the starting running back, but if he can get like 80 carries, 80 to 90 carries plus like 70 targets, like, I mean, that could be a solid PPR option.
Yeah. I
he's
think
not going to be the star.
I think too, you add like a rushing floor a little bit. Like if he gets 30 to 50 carries, I think that might be okay, but I'm not really like.
That's probably more realistic.
I'm trying to figure out what position he really plays at this point, so I'm just going to stat about it.
Fantasy-wise, he's running back, but I think he's going to get more time in the slot.
Yeah. The Athletic Zach Kiefer wrote that Jonathan Taylor is expected to share carries with Marlon Mack, which is totally expected.
Which is what we've been saying. It's going to be the 1A, 1B. I'm
becoming more and more convinced that Jonathan Taylor, I've been trying to decide if it's Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, or who's the other guy? J.K. Dobbins, who's going to be this year's Miles Sanders, who starts the season sitting. It's going to be Taylor. Yeah.
I think first half of the season, he's going to split with Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
Then as the second half goes on, he's going to get more and more work. And then this time next year, we'll be talking about Jonathan Taylor in the same light we're talking about Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I totally agree. In the second half of the season last year, Miles Sanders was very good, and he probably won some people some leagues.
Sure. So Taylor can do that this year.
Yeah, I 100% believe that.
He'll probably start slow.
My problem with Jonathan Taylor at this point is that in industry mocks where people are paying attention, Jonathan Taylor is going in like the early 4th round, late 3rd. And that is far, far too high for a running back that probably will not. See, that's the thing. You can talk about talent. You can talk about being excited about a player. I totally get it. I understand. It's fine. I'm excited about Jonathan Taylor too. But you have to understand. You have to understand. And I did this with David Montgomery last year. You have to understand that there is a vet in the backfield who had around 1,100 to 1,200 rushing yards last year. He's not just going to vanish into thin air because Jonathan Taylor's talented butt walked into the facilities. It's just not going to happen. They're going to split it. They're going to split it early, and that's what's going to happen. Jonathan Taylor may be the better running back. You've been in transitional.
Yeah, Taylor will win the job, I think, but it won't be right away.
Yeah, so anybody who thinks he's just going to be a feature back right away, I can't wait till people draft him and then drop him after week 4.
Oh, well, they're stupid if they do that.
Yeah.
Those are the casual people that play fantasy football would do that.
But now that we got through the news, this is probably going to be one of our worst news segments in August outside of Cut Down Weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one sucks. But anyway, before we jump into the draft guide, I wanted to give you a little advertisement. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free, so you don't have to pay anything. Most people charge money for these hosting platforms. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast straight from your phone, so it's very convenient. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, any podcast platform. And you can also make money from your podcast right away with a no minimum listenership. It really is everything you need in a podcast all in one place. So be sure to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You want to do the draft guide? I mean, a draft guide. Do you want to do this mock draft?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so let's get it started and see what happens. We are going to take two different approaches here. Mm-hmm. We are going to, I think I'm doing running back only for the first couple rounds and seeing where that goes.
Yep.
And then you're going to do, which is probably the strategy that most people are going to take this year. And you're going to take wide receiver only for the first couple rounds and see where it takes you in terms of running backs. And
we're right next to each other, so it should be interesting.
Yes. Well, I know you're not taking running back, so I'm good there. So it should be interesting. I really don't, like we've talked about before, we don't really subscribe to particular strategies. Like we don't walk into drafts and say, hey, these are the guys that we want to take, where I'm going all running back for the first 3 rounds or whatever. It depends on what happens in a lot of the drafts. So for our home league, I'm like, literally, it really depends on what happens for the first 9 picks for me to decide what strategy I actually want to go with, But anyway, we had Barkley go 101, 2 was Zeke, 3 McCaffrey, 4 Michael Thomas, 5 Kamara, and 6 Derrick Henry. So that leaves with That leaves me with Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, or Nick Chubb.
I think that's an easy pick.
That should be Dalvin Cook, but my mind literally went melting for Miles Sanders for 5 seconds. But I'm going to take Dalvin Cook.
Take Dalvin Cook. So with my zero running back strategy, I am going receiver here. I think the obvious pick for me is Devonte Adams. That guy's going to get like 200 targets this year.
What did you project him at?
At like 170, I think.
I think I had him at 175. I had him at 161, and then when I readjusted after the opt out, I have him at 1. I wanted to put him at 180, but I was like, is that too much? Is that too many targets?
Okay, this one I've been going back and forth. I'd love to take a running back here. Obviously, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see it on the screen. But for our podcast listeners, Josh Jacobs went 9, Mixon 10, Julio Jones 11, 12 was Miles Sanders, and then at the turn, Patrick Mahomes 1, Tyreek Hill 2, Nick Chubb 3, Lamar Jackson 4, and then it's Rick's pick.
I was hoping that Tyreek Hill could fall to me here. Obviously, did not. I'm torn between Hopkins and Godwin.
I'm surprised Julio went 111.
I'm actually going to go Chris Godwin. I have changed my rankings. I switched those 2 guys. It's very close between them.
Which guys did you switch? Hopkins and Godwin.
Yeah, okay. I'm now a little higher in Godwin. I mean, we've talked about him all year. So
we're going to talk about Hopkins in the next couple of shows. But do you feel like DeAndre Hopkins is a good value right now where he's going? Because originally he was that first round pick and you were like, this is not the value's not there for him. I mean, but now he's picked 16 and he's continuously falling. So it's like, when you're talking about being in the middle of the second round in a 12 team, is that worth it?
Yes, I think it is worth it at that spot. I'd still take, the 5 receivers that have gone off the board in this mock draft: Michael Thomas, Devonte Adams, Julio, Tyreek, and Chris Godwin. I'd probably all take before Hopkins right now, but I think Hopkins is probably the 6th guy.
I am a little surprised that we did have 2 quarterbacks go early, and we had Julio Jones go at 111, which is not normal.
Something I would do.
Yeah. Julio in the first every time. Every time. I just lost our screen. Hold on 1 second, my friends.
Oh my goodness.
Every time.
I think this is
somebody tried to call me in the middle of my show. Go away. All right. So at my pick, I would say I would agree with you. Pretty obvious. I have my big 3 breakouts this year: Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Based on my rankings of those 3, I'm going to go Clyde.
Yep.
I almost just randomly took Kenyon Drake because he was at the top of the draft board. Don't do that.
I think Clyde's definitely. He's not going to probably be there in a lot of
games. Yeah. So I finished my projections on him after all the opt-outs, and I had him at 240 carries, about 45 receiving or receptions, I should say. And he finished with about 250 to 260 fantasy points, which was my running back 8 or 9. So that's right kind of where I have him like ranked at this point. Yeah. I think he's 9 or 10 in my rankings. So, yeah, I mean, that was an obvious choice for me if I'm going running back only. Aaron Jones came off. Hopkins at 2.8. Kenyon Drake 2.9. 2.10 was Kenny Golladay. 2.11, Travis Kelce. And then Thielen, Chris Carson, Austin Eckler, George Kittle, Mike Evans, Le'Veon Bell, and then Melvin Gordon. So now, am I allowed to take a wide receiver yet, or am I still going running back? Because I'll go running back again.
I think it's let's just do whatever you want now. Just first 2 rounds.
Okay, all right.
Because I kind of want to take a running back.
You're not allowed. You're supposed to take Travis Kelce. Oh, he's already off the board. Sorry, forgive me.
I would have taken Kittle if you told me, but
yeah. So we have a couple of players here. The third round is littered with some trash bags at the running back position. The guy I'm most intrigued by is Leonard Fournette, but
sure.
The problem is there. I'm kind of like teetering between. I think he's going to be really good. And like, what did he score? 3 touchdowns last year. Like, I think he's going to get like, 1,100, 1,200 rushing yards and probably 400 or 500 receiving yards. Sure. And the hard part is that like last year he had 76 receptions. The second highest total he's had in terms of receptions in his career was 36.
That number is going to go down. Yeah.
So he's probably I would project him to go down like 26 catches, like right around 50. And if that's the case, I mean, obviously that's a sizable chunk of fantasy points that aren't there anymore. It's probably about like 30, 40 fantasy points. Last year, what he finished with 220. So that puts him at like 190. But I think he can make it back with touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I think he's a low-end RB1. And to get a low-end RB1 in this slot at your... I'll take him. But at this slot, to be in your flex is very, very good. Especially when you have the depth in the later rounds of the draft.
Right. So I can take a running back here, right?
Yeah, by the way, this is only 13 rounds. We got rid of kickers and defenses.
Yeah. Thank God. For me, I don't know. I know you're kind of down on this player, but I've been high on him for a while. Ever since I originally did my projections, that's Todd Gurley. I think the work that he's going to get in Atlanta with the passing game, with the amount of carries, the goal line work, that offense, I'll take him. I don't know if I'm crazy about him being my RB1, but I'll take him.
Why are you doing that, Allen Robinson at 4.3?
I was hoping he'd fall to me.
Hurting my
But
soul.
that's okay, because I'll just take my other go-to receiver there, Juju Smith-Schuster. So now I feel like I have 3 top 10 wide receivers, or 3 top 12 wide receivers.
So I have some devil's advocate with Todd Gurley and Juju Smith-Schuster. Are you concerned at all? Because Todd Gurley traditionally in his career needs a good offensive line, which Atlanta does not have a good run-blocking offensive line. They've done some decent things this year to improve that, but are you concerned at all with Todd Gurley being able to rush the football this year?
I think it's a slight concern because the offensive line is not great, but I do think he's going to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I don't always, again, it's a bad thing to do this and buy into the off-season hype, but man, I've seen a lot of Todd Gurley footage, and I
was watching.
I'm excited.
A round table.
With him and Cam Newton.
Newton, and he's like, "Man, during quarantine, I worked out like more than I ever have in my life," and I was like, "Okay, all right, buddy, don't rip everyone apart." Yeah,
but he's clearly very motivated, though.
Yeah, I mean, he is kind of teetering for a lot of people between bust and The way that I look at Todd Gurley is I don't think he's going to reach. I mean, I would be happy in the third round if he reached that, top 5, upside.
Oh, yeah.
That I think
I'm
he
not
carries.
Sure he's going to get that, but
he probably won't get that. I would say if you had to put a percentage on it, like 6% or 7% chance that he gets into the top 5. But, I mean, last year he had a trash offensive line, a bad offense that he was running in, and he wasn't getting all of the goal line carries in at least the first 8 weeks of the season. It wasn't until the second half that he started getting those. So the big thing with Gurley is that he's going into a much better offense. He's going into a system where he's going to at least get opportunities to score some more. Some people are more concerned about him getting, because traditionally Dirk Cutter offenses don't generally get a lot of goal line, carries. And so we'll have to see if that does affect Todd Gurley. But I mean, last year he was relatively bad for what you expected from him, and he still finished in the top 13?
Yep.
So it's like, I think that's his floor. Like, if you're calling him a bust, to get a guy like, literally when you're talking about him as probably the 17th, 18th running back off the board.
Yep.
I feel like that's a value at this point, just based on how people are drafting.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, Juju, I was thinking about it today, actually, because I'm always, you know how I am. I'm high with Juju, but are you concerned about Big Ben's arm? Because what if he's just complete trash?
I think long term, yeah, but short term, I'm not too concerned about it.
Okay, you're not concerned that he had Tommy John?
No, I mean, it is a little bit of a concern, but here's the thing. Their quarterback play was so bad last year. So even if Big Ben is not the same player, I still think he's good. Even if his arm is like Phillip Rivers, I'd rather have that Phillip Rivers than Duck Hodges.
Okay. All right.
So
I just wanted to clear that up because these two are controversial right now.
Yeah.
Some people have them as breakouts. Some people have them as busts.
Right.
I know the footballers don't like either of these players, but I guess they don't like Juju at his ADP, which I don't understand. I think it's a decent ADP right now for him. 4th round wide receiver that could get 160 targets. I mean, I'll take that. But anyway, after you took Todd Gurley, we had James Conner, David Johnson, Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, A.J. Brown. Curses, you friggin' turn pick taking A.J. Brown. Mark Ingram, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and then you took Juju. So I'm going to need a wide receiver at some point in this draft.
And you got a couple solid options at wide receiver if you want to go that direction.
Or I could just take Jonathan Taylor.
Or you could take Jonathan Taylor.
No, I mean, I'm kind of the noise coming out of Seattle right now with DK Metcalf and, more specifically them targeting Josh Gordon or Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon. Yeah, they're looking at both players at this point. And I feel like the early part of the season, Metcalf obviously is going to have open opportunity to do things, but it concerns me a little bit that they want to bring in another wide receiver when Metcalf plays the role of Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown well enough.
They probably just want somebody on the other side.
But if that happens, you're wasting a 4th round pick on DK Metcalf. So I'm not really in on
Brown,
him anymore.
I absolutely agree. If they get Josh Gordon, though, I think Metcalf's still going to be decent. But there's other wide receivers at this spot that I'd rather have over Metcalf.
Yeah.
Not that I dislike him as a player, but...
So I'm going to say right now for me, not that I completely dislike Odell Beckham, but I think it's between Robert Woods and DJ Moore.
Yep. It would be like that for me too.
I think Robert Woods is probably going to get 140 to 150 targets this year. Last year, I believe we talked about him being the Leonard Fournette of wide receivers, not getting opportunity to score. He's going to get opportunities through the air. The question is, does he score? I think he scores 6 to 8 touchdowns. I think he does a good job there. And then DJ Moore obviously has breakout potential and upside, but I think what's tied to DJ Moore at this point is his ability to it's what's tied to DJ Moore is if Carolina has a good offense, essentially. So I mean, for this one, I think I'm going to go with the safer pick of Robert Woods. Because I know I'm going to get a good floor out of him, and I need a decent wide receiver to freaking start.
Right.
So then after Robert Woods, Montgomery, Metcalf, Ertz, Jonathan Taylor, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Devin Singletary, Kyler Murray, Tyler Lockett, Raheem Mostert, Keenan Allen, and Russell Wilson all came off the board. And this is where the locals would take DJ Chark, one of our breakout wide receivers this year. It was between if I had to choose. I'm surprised Odell fell that far. I just took Chark without even thinking.
I was just gonna say
Odell at 5'7". I'll take him. I'll stick with DJ Chark and let you have Odell if you want.
I really wanted to take. I was so prepared to take Terry McLaurin here.
Yeah,
who I am in love with for this year, but how can I not take Odell Beckham right now?
Yeah, I left him on the board for you. I actually probably
Thanks.
Odell. I was looking every year. I like to do a post op of my drafts, and last year I was looking at my drafts and I realized that I was drafting players who didn't have a lot of opportunity attached to them. And I got like, those are my first 3 rounds of one of my drafts last year. I had Odell, who had like 120 targets. I had Stefan Diggs, who had like 98 targets or something like that, and then I had Chris Godwin, who had 120. And it's like Godwin worked out, but the rest of my team I didn't have. I had to trade for Hopkins, and I ended up with the resident 150 targets on the season. But it's when you're drafting wide receivers that don't have a whole ton of opportunity, it doesn't fully work out a lot of the time. So
right,
I think Chark will probably get a like 130, 140 in terms of target share. He's more of like a risky breakout kind of pick, but. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Odell. I just think the amount that the Cleveland Browns are going to throw the football, it might reach up to like 500 times, I would say. That would be a good projection for them. And at that, I think Odell only gets 120, which he can still turn into wide receiver 1 numbers, don't get me wrong. But the opportunity is not there, and Odell has literally not shown that he can be a wide receiver 1 for like 3 seasons.
Yeah. For me, and I was talking about this with Hollywood Brown earlier, who I like, but 6th round, it feels a little early for me for Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
I don't think Dak is an awful option here, although it's a little early, 6th round for me to take a quarterback, even though I do really like Dak this year. Mm-hmm. I feel like I kind of need a running back at this point. I have 4 really, really good receivers, but going running back means your running backs are going to stink anyway. I knew that going in. I don't mind Marlon Mack.
Yeah. Did we lose you, Rick?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you lost me.
So many technical difficulties on this episode, I guess.
Yeah. Where was I?
You talking about Marlon Mack?
Marlon Mack. Yeah, I think he's going to lose his job, so it's a little early for him.
Yeah.
I don't like Cam Akers in the 6th round, but if you're going 0 running back, I do kind of feel like he wouldn't be an awful option. Just
what about Rojo?
Upside? Well, I was getting to Rojo.
I'm sorry. It looks like you skipped over a lot of players, and I was getting worried.
The only reason I would consider Cam Akers here is because his upside to be a starting running back that I can get in the 6th round, even though he's just as easily could be an awful fantasy option this year.
Yeah.
I am going to take Rojo to be my RB2, which is disgusting, but his upside this year being used as the starting running back, which I think we both agree that he will be, it's probably the best option there for me.
Yeah. After you took Odell, was AJ Green, Terry McLaurin, T.Y. Hilton, Stefan Diggs, Kareem Hunt, Swift, Watson, Gronk, and Jones. So now we're left with a couple of options for me. I have 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. I've been warming a little bit on Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
We both initially were like, he's going to be a bust. And
originally, he was also like in the 4th round.
The more I think about it, the more I look at it and go, how many targets do we really expect Jerry Jeudy to get this year? Like 70 to 80?
Probably like 80-ish, yeah.
So, I don't think that takes anything away from Cortland Sutton. I think he still ends up with 120 to 130 targets. And if he's slightly more efficient, he can finish with,
Sure.
200-something fantasy points, which is low-end wide receiver 1 numbers and really great for your team. So I would be okay with Cortland Sutton here as a potential, at this point, going 0 running back, you kind of have to, or zero receiver.
Yeah.
I don't know what came out. You in the middle rounds, you have to draft a plethora of wide receivers that have talent and have potential to break out, i.e. DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton. I could have taken Terry McLaurin. After you get your solid Robert Woods, kind of player who's going to get you 130, 150 targets, then you draft some guys that potentially could break out. After I took Cortland Sutton, Marquis Brown, Dak Prescott, Marlon Mack, Devontae Parker, Deebo Samuel, Michael Gallup, Aaron Jones, Julio Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Julian Edelman, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Sony Michel, and then Cam Akers. So it turns back to me at 7-7, and I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to take Tyler Boyd. He had 150.
I was hoping you would take Brandon Cooks.
I was going to reach a little bit on that. I was thinking about taking Dobbins. You can have Brandon Cooks if you want.
I don't want Cooks.
But no, I took Tyler Boyd. I think he had 150 targets last year. The offense is going to be more efficient. Of course, AJ Green is back, but he was better with AJ Green on the field than without him. I don't think he gets 150 targets. I think he probably gets like 120. But at that, I think he can put up decent fantasy numbers and have a pretty good season this year. I think he'll be a mid-range wide receiver too. Probably low end would be a safer bet, but
yeah, I mean, pretty solid pick. That's the guy I wanted to take.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to take the Walrus here, but I'm not gonna because I like taking my tight end later. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take Dobbins here. Just because, again, with going zero running back, you kind of want a guy with that upside. If anything happens to Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins.
The New England Patriots just signed Lamar Miller to a 1-year deal. I just updated my rankings, Pat. Do you really have to do that?
Okay.
All right. Yeah. We don't have to talk about it, but I just wanted to let everyone know that.
Yeah.
Lamar Miller signed.
Okay.
So
it's interesting for the Sony Michel.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be on the PUP to start the season. So.
Yeah. And Damian Harris.
I had a segment all planned
for the Patriots backfield.
Yeah, it's gross. I literally had a whole segment planned on Wednesday's show where we were going to discuss Sony Michel at his ADP or Damian Williams at his.
Yeah.
Damian Harris, not Damian Williams. That's out the window. I don't know where Lamar Miller is going to adjust in that situation, but let's just keep mock drafting. What were you saying?
Sure. I don't remember anymore. But at this pick, I probably could wait on a quarterback, but I love my man.
You friggin' jerk.
I'm going to jump on. Is that where you were going?
I was thinking about it.
Got to jump on my guy.
I got sniped. After you took Dobbins, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Landry, Waller, Howard Ingram, Coleman, Johnson, and then Josh Allen all came off the board. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to reach for this pick because we got nothing but hot garbage.
You could go Marvin Jones, maybe.
I was thinking about Marvin Jones, but I'm not excited.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
I'll go Deontay Johnson. I'll go with the other Pittsburgh Steelers
upside player.
It gets interesting though because as you get later in the draft, the wide receivers, the running backs start just completely collapsing. The last two rounds you've had Jordan Howard, Tevin Coleman, Kerryon Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Matt Breida, James White, Alexander Madison, Latavius Murray all come off the board, and that is some hot garbage.
Right.
So I think I'm just gonna keep up with the trend. I'm gonna take Christian Kirk 1-9.
Sure.
9-7.
Solid place for him.
I've taken 6 wide receivers in a row. So when do I take another running back? The world may never know.
You're taking the best player available though. That's kind of why I feel like, at this spot.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to just take the best player available, so I'm going to take Carson Wentz. And I feel like the guy I want can follow me here with the next pick. We'll see if he does.
Which is?
We just talked about this before the show and how you said not really worth the pick, but because you know why I'm taking Antonio Gibson?
Whatever.
Because
I'll forgive you.
The depth at running back, like you just said, is so bad right now at this spot in the draft. That I think taking him ahead of guys like Boston Scott, Duke Johnson, LaShawn McCoy, A.J. Dillon, I'm willing to take for that potential of the upside. Again, I don't think he's going to be a workhorse or even be the starting running back on that team. I think it's going to be Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, what you're getting, though, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
After you took Carson Wentz, Darius Slayton, Darrell Henderson, Matt Stafford, Daniel Jones, Henry Ruggs, Tyler Higabeast, Jerry Jeudy, Hayden Hurst, and then Antonio Gibson all came off the board. That leaves Keyshawn Vaughn, Zach Moss, Chase Edmonds as some of the running backs. And then as far as wide receivers are concerned, John Brown, Sammy Watkins, Sterling Shepard are all available. I'm intrigued by two guys here, Zach Moss, Chase Edmonds.
Sure.
Moss is not a bad selection here. I'd rather him in the 11th round.
Me too. Yeah.
He's not a horrible pick. I think he's going to obviously get the Frank Gore role, and when he inevitably does get that, he's probably going to get 150 to 160 carries, and 5 to 7 touchdowns. And if that's the case, and he's efficient on the ground in any way, shape, or form, I think he'll actually have some upside in terms of a flex play. But I think that's about it. Like, you're not getting, unless Devin Singletary gets hurt, you're not getting like a workhorse, and the ceiling's not there. Edmonds is also on the flip side. Kenyon Drake is obviously the starter on the team. Chase Edmonds had some really good games when both David Johnson and Kenyon Drake weren't on the field. So I think he's a solid handcuff for Kenyon Drake. But in a season where COVID is going to happen, I will take Chase Edmonds in the 10th round.
It's fair,
and give myself some depth at the running back position. He can't start at all for my team, so if somebody gets hurt, I'm kind of screwed and I need to make some trades. But anyway, and then I'm going to take Cameron Newton at my pick at 11-7.
I would have been very open to taking Damian Harris here, obviously, with the Lamar Miller news, not really so much anymore. Justin Jefferson, who I was prepared to take.
You can take him and just assume that it's Lamar Miller.
Yeah. No, I'll take Jameson Crowder.
Okay.
I think best player available.
Please fall to me. Please fall to me. Oh no, it didn't.
Fall to you?
I wanted Justin Jackson.
Oh.
It wasn't going to happen.
Well, look at that. The guy who I was just talking about, Justin Jefferson. I'll take them both.
All right, so you got Crowder and Justin Jefferson. Mike Williams, Deshaun Jackson, Duke Johnson, N'Keal Harry, Justin Jackson, Jared Goff, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard all came off the board as well. Not many options this late in the draft. I think that I will go with Mike Gesicki and get my tight end. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Get Mike Gesicki, my tight end. Boston Scott, Alshon Jeffrey, Damian Harris, LaShawn McCoy, A.J. Dillon, Brandon Ayuk, Robbie Anderson, Jalen Reagor, Kirk Cousins, Michael Pittman Jr., Preston Williams, and then Tannehill came off the board. And then I think this is where I'm going to snipe you and take T.J. Hawkinson.
You killed it. You killed my whole vibe.
Yeah, dude. You can still take Jonnu or Joe Burrow. Eric Ebron's on the
Dallas
board, dude.
Goddard might be the best, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
Like if Zach Ertz gets COVID,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do that. Although
Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith was very tempting, but
yeah. So there you have it. A very helpful mock draft. I went 0 running back. It's actually pretty interesting.
You went 0 receiver.
0 receiver. I keep doing that, and I will forever do that because I will never go 0 running back ever. And my brain just goes there.
Yeah, you won't.
So, I took the 0 wide receiver in the first couple rounds approach. I think a lot of people are going to take the approach of drafting 3 running backs early, just because of like when you talked about getting to like the Mike Evans pick, right? Mm-hmm. You're literally talking about maybe that being he's the 9th receiver off the board, and it's in the middle of the 3rd round. So you're getting a top 10 wide receiver off the board, literally at the end of the 3rd round. And
look at the amount of running backs that went up till 310.
It's ridiculous. And it's like that's the strategy that everyone's taking, and it almost makes me want to go the reverse and take
my receivers are I hate my running backs, but the 4 receivers that I have with Devonte Adams, Chris Godwin, Juju, Odell, that's insane.
Yeah.
for some of the receivers.
No, it's really good. But I mean, this is the problem with these two strategies. If you look at them, like you do have a stacked wide receiver core, but
Running back's so weak.
your running back position is so weak. Whereas if you look at my team, it's like Robert Woods, DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Boyd, Deontay Johnson, Christian
Receivers
Kirk.
are solid, yeah.
And it's like I have a lot more depth at the wide receiver position.
Sure.
I don't have a big time wide receiver, but I got depth there. So I think it's very difficult to draft with a zero running back approach, especially this year with everyone going psychopath on the running backs.
Yeah.
So I mean, you did pretty good with the team. You could have taken, David. You could have I can't remember if that was the turn. Yeah, you could have taken David Montgomery at your pick.
I could have, but I can't pass up on my boy Juju.
But that'll do it. I drafted, for the people listening on the podcast, I drafted Dalvin Cook, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Leonard Fournette, Robert Woods, DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Boyd, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds, Cam Newton, Mike Gesicki, and TJ Hawkinson. Who do you got, Rick?
I have Josh Allen, Todd Gurley, Ronald Jones, Devonte Adams, Chris Godwin, Dallas Goedert, Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham, J.K. Dobbins, Carson Wentz, Antonio Gibson, Jamison Crowder, and Justin Jefferson.
So in the comments on YouTube, please let us know how we did. And if you listen to this podcast and you find it through Twitter, comment on the link on Twitter and let us know what you think of these two strategies and which one you're going to use in 2020. That'll pretty much do it for this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's been interesting. It's been real. Mock draft. Tomorrow we have busts at the running back and wide receiver position for the 2020 fantasy football season. Check our website, thefantasychampions.com. Buy the draft guide. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We will talk to you tomorrow, my friends.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.